Hello everybody, sunny Puzikas and
Anarchia Miller.
we are from Augsburg, Germany, southern Germany in Bavaria, and this is our last day before we go back to Texas. So we wanted to take a couple minutes and talk to you about a few of our things that we experienced here while visiting Germany. So we were fortunate enough, and our friends, people hosting us, they took quite a few extra steps to be able to take us to a shooting range here in Germany, which we found out is quite a special thing in this democracy, to be able to own the weapons, shoot the weapons, and access things like shooting ranges and facilities of that kind. We went to a facility in the city of Ulm, I believe, which is the city where Walter, a pretty famous weapons manufacturer, has their factory and I think the headquarters as well. And for those of you in America, I would say the facility, the store itself, was probably something equivalent, a little bit smaller in scale of something like Bass Pro, one of those outdoors kind of shops. So we went to the range there and rented some handguns, the Walter, the Glock, the H&K. We had an H&K pistol caliber, carbine, and I believe the AR-15 style rifle there. We got an ammunition, 9mm 45 caliber and 5.56. Shot some, two of the gentlemen, local German gentlemen, do have licenses for weapons, so they do have rifles, shotguns, and one of the gentlemen is preparing to buy his first handgun. Here's where interesting things happen. We came out after the shooting, and because he has licenses to own rifles and shotguns, which I'll expand here shortly about what it takes to own and store and what can happen to you if you fired the wrong way. He was able to take the unused ammunition that he paid for in 5.56 caliber with him home. Now, because he hasn't yet bought and or registered a handgun, 9mm and 45 caliber handgun ammunition, which he had to pay for, he couldn't take with him. But here's the interesting part. They wouldn't even keep it for him with his name. They will resell it. And he cannot get it back. And he cannot get his money back. Those are just the rules. And it was interesting when we heard about it. To tell you the truth, I got fucking upset, you know? And I'm like, what kind of BS is that? And one gentleman was almost like, you know, you can't really show too much dissatisfaction and that you're unhappy and all that, because all it's gonna take for the people that work at that store is to call cops, and they come in and they basically can tell you that you are mentally unfit to own firearms. They can lose their licenses, at which point the law here is such that they can come in and confiscate all your weapons. So folks, especially those of you in America, when we're talking about, you know, reasonable or common sense gun laws, this is what they lead to. One step, second step, and you're gonna be right here, what folks have in Germany now. By the way, for him to be able to get licenses for even shotguns and rifles, okay, he had to take a 3-week every day, talking Monday through Sunday, intensive course, pass the exams pretty much on the anatomy of a pig, elk, and freaking bison, all right? And I think in total he said it was about 4,000 euros. So it's somewhere close to $4,500 for paperwork and licenses. So folks, again, when our anti-gunners talk about, reasonable stuff that most Americans agree with and so forth, think very, very hard about giving 1 inch. Think very hard, because this is what's going to lead to. And eventually the population here is, in general, unarmed. Straight up unarmed. Just to expand on some of the other things, you can take your shotgun rifle when you're going hunting. If you get pulled over and you're not going hunting and or to a shooting club, that's pretty much automatic confiscation of your weapons, and you lose for life ability to own weapons, shoot weapons, go hunting, or anything like that. By the way, public intoxication here in Germany is perfectly acceptable, which I agree with.
Yeah.
I'm walking drunk, I'm not hurting anybody, it's all good, I'm enjoying myself. So walking drunk, no one's gonna tell you anything. You can literally go over things like some kind of a small infractions of the law, maybe I don't know, argument with somebody and somebody calls the cops, nothing happens, but anyone that says something about your mental state and or your attitude and or your anger, okay, you can pretty much guarantee that next time you go to renew your license, for which you paid $4,000 for education and license itself, you ain't gonna get it. Okay, and you may have a nice little collection. By the way, everything has to be kept in the safe. Rifles and handguns, if you own both, cannot be kept in the same safe, nor is the ammunition can be there together. If they come in, they can come in 24/7 and check on you. That is the right of the state, which is monopoly. Okay? They can come in and check, okay? And if they find the smallest infraction, all of it is gone, and there's nothing you can do about it. Folks, I don't know. I don't know what people think when they say, what's the big deal about allowing them a little bit more and a little bit more. This is the goal. This is the goal. And no, I'm not a gun nut. No, I'm not about everyone and anyone having guns. No, I'm not about this. But you know what? This is the principle of a state control and state monopoly over everything.
Particularly violence.
Particularly violence. And it's interesting how, just discussing it with people here, it's pretty clear that state has monopoly of violence, and most citizens have accepted it. They're no longer in any kind of a mindset of resisting it and even talking about it openly.
Yeah, I mean, even with ownership of any weapon, they say you have to say it's strictly for hunting. Nothing's for self-defense. I mean,
you can't even mention self-defense.
Yeah, you can't even mention self-defense. It's all for hunting.
Yeah, knives. You cannot own a folding knife that you can open with one hand. Okay? They find a folding knife that is one hand opening knife. Not only they're gonna take that knife, not only you're probably gonna get charged with something and go to court and all that. If you do own firearms, because of that, you're losing it automatically. Automatically, you're losing your firearms. Okay, folks, this is Germany. This is democracy in Europe, European Union. Think about it. Other things that we saw here was we had some interesting discussions about, obviously, there's a lot of discussions going on about, refugees. The poor folks coming from Syria.
Well, it kind of goes along with government having a monopoly on violence. Citizens aren't allowed to defend themselves. They have to rely on the police, the state, to defend them. Apparently, according to some of the locals here, the police are more concerned about being politically correct. And by that, they mean it's more of a hassle for them to interfere with violence if it has anything to do with a refugee. Citizens are kind of on their own, but they don't have weapons to defend themselves. But what was really cool to see is that there are, even in a place like this, there are individuals who are willing to voluntarily help defend others. What was the motorcycle group?
There were actually Hells Angels and Banditos, motorcycle so-called gangs that members of those motorcycle clubs, which is exactly what they are, they're motorcycle clubs, they would give business cards to citizens with phone numbers, email addresses, and so forth if they have problems with the refugee violence, which, trust me, there's a lot of it going on here. We didn't see violence per se. I was kind of secretly hoping for some, no. But we saw some refugees here and there, and we actually discussed what would have happened if it wasn't, you know, a group of us walking. If, let's say, it was one female walking there at the late hours of the evening in certain parts of town. You know, but it's cool because those guys, they give out business cards to citizens in case there's a problem, because it's already known, and interestingly enough, it's accepted that their police here will not get involved because it's too politically charged to get involved in any kind of violence that involves refugees because of their status, because of the political correctness, and what a sensitive issue they made of it here in the European Union.
Which, ironically, that's racist to choose not to help citizens based on what race the attacker is or where the attacker is from. And I'm not saying that a refugee is going to be more likely violent, even though statistically speaking some people would say that, but the fact that you know that your chances of being able to fight your case in court depends on if they are or not, that's not fair. I think each individual should be treated equally in regards to that, but that doesn't appear to be the case here. So,
you know it's a beautiful country, great people, but you know what we noticed? It's a smell of socialism. It's not about to happen. It already has happened. And to all of our American viewers, guys and gals, I can tell you this: there are plenty of players in our country, the United States. This is their vision. This is their vision to bring us to this and beyond. And you know, talking to folks here, looking at the political situation, looking at political parties in power, and what's being said, what's being done by those players, by those forces. I hate to say this, I'm going to sound very anarchist, for the lack of a better term. This place is beyond help. Things will not change here without major war. The interesting part is, citizens here have no way of fighting it. Okay, America. We're not far from it. Much closer than you freaking think. Much closer than you think. Okay, so don't take it lightly. Don't think that, you know, because you're voting for the lesser of the two evils, that, you know, for the sake of whatever, the excuse you may come up with, you know, it's okay to accept certain steps to limit this, to regulate that, to increase taxes, to ban assault rifles, to accept seven round magazine capacity. Whatever the case might be, the length of the blade, whatever. Folks, none of the criminals, none of the bad guys have those regulations upon them. They do not follow it. They don't give a shit. Zero fornications given. Guess what? It's coming to that. It's already happening. Police departments and all that stuff, as far as, you know, as much as policing as it is effed up. You know, it's gonna be very, very soon where all of it is gonna be on us. And when state limits us on what we can do, what we can have, how it can be done, you're either at the mercy of a criminal element or state will screw you. So think about it.
you know, there's a saying, and there's actually, you know, a local actually explained it this way: if you give the government an inch, they'll take a mile. So they realize in America they can't just completely outright ban all guns now, but they will take the steps, you know, slowly over time, more regulation over certain things, and
If they try to cut the throat in one move, a big portion of population will resist and probably violently. But if they pull, if at first they clip your nails, then they'll pull one nail off, then they cut off part of the finger, then clip your ear off, then shave your hair off. You know, people will look at it, they go, it's not such a big deal. It's okay. There's no need for extreme violence and or resistance or whatnot. They're not doing anything big. They're not killing anybody. They're not taking your guns. They're only limiting how many rounds you can have in your magazine. What kind of guns you can have. Where can you have them? What time of day you can have them. How can you store them? What kind of ammunition you can buy for your guns. Folks, this is death by 1,000 cuts. And make no mistake, this is exactly what they're trying to do. They're not stupid, they're not ignorant. They understand that direct attempt to cut our throat will result in streets running red. They know it. So they're gonna go cut by cut by cut. And they will get there if we let them.
And licensing. It's just a way for them to keep track of who has what. And of course, you know, if there's a resistance of any kind, who do you think they're going to come after first? Those who have registered and who they have record.
And by the way, those of you folks with skills and known skills, trust me, you're at the top of the list. What else can we say about Germany? Beer here is cheaper than coffee. That you can beat. Oh yeah, we watch Daylight and in German.
Wir werden nicht genügend fahrbare Kisten finden bis heute Abend.
Woher wollen Sie das wissen?
Das habe ich schon mal getan. Dann könnt ihr euch auf den Weg machen zu diesem Flugplatz.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Yeah. Jäger, you sounded so hilarious in German, I cannot even tell you, brother.
The most distinct, I think the most distinct voice. And then next to yours.
Yeah, so Vlad and Jäger's character were very distinct voices.
Ja.
Dann habe ich's verstanden.
Ihr Lager, das Hotel, ist 12 Etagen Dunkelheit. Tag und Nacht.
Ja, sie schlafen in Rudeln. Wahrscheinlich unten im Keller. Da werde ich...
Yeah, we did some good training with good folks, with good group.
We got to be tortured.
Yes, yes, Megan experienced some Russian massage, and let's just call it a joint liberating stretch. And it is beautiful here. It is beautiful here. Weather cooperated with us, so it was good times, good fun. I think now we're gonna have, and maybe I'll have a beer and she'll have a Red Bull.
Oh.
There you go. And so, peace from Germany. Sunny Puzikas here.
Anarchia.
And keep your eyes open. Subscribe to our YouTube channels down here, as well as social media pages that we have. And keep your eyes open. Next video, hell, I don't know what we're going to be talking about. Probably.
Actually, we should do a separate video on our experience at the range.
Yeah, we should
more
do
detail about
more details. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit. And but anyway, once you subscribe, you'll see all the things coming up to you. Greetings. We'll talk to you soon.